Like to have everybody's attention for a moment.
There's a stat. I don't like bringing up stats, but there's one stat about the Panthers.
In the world is James Harden better scorer than Michael Jordan?
No, he's more creative in that.
Traveling is not creative, Brandon.
You know, no matter what the score is, and they've said it themselves, whether they're up 10, down 20, whatever, they know they can turn it on whenever.
Why did you have to bring up the Cowboys in this conversation?
Lived in Texas for 2 years and just could not stand to watch Cowboys football.
All right, listen up.
Welcome to The Rundown. Here's Desmond Johnson.
And welcome to a very special breaking news edition of The Rundown. I'm your host, Desmond Johnson, along with my counterpart, Hot Rod Funderburk. We have with us on the line the athletic director for East Forsyth High School, Alan Plaster, and the new men's basketball coach for the East Forsyth Fighting Eagles, Monty Gray. What's going on, gentlemen? How y'all doing?
How you doing?
Doing well.
Now, I didn't know, you might notice the whole right side of your screen is filled with East Forsyth blue and letters and whatnot. Rod and Monty went to school together at East Forsyth, correct?
That is correct. Yes.
We did.
That infamous class of 92. How well do you guys?
That's right. Monty Gray was in the class of 92, and I was a year behind Monty, and Monty was one of the guys I always looked up to because he was a basketball guy. He was, we looked up to the people who were above us. He did great things in basketball, and of course, I was more of a football guy. But we grew up together. Always looked at Monty, and Monty had just mad basketball skills, man. And I wouldn't even go on the court or even think about playing basketball with this guy because how good he was.
Now, from my recollection, I was in '92. I was a freshman, so I was freshman year, and I was joking with Monty when we first got on that I remember my freshman year. I'm 14 years old. I might weigh $145 soaking wet, and the seniors walking around East Forsyth, it's not like it is today. Like back then, the seniors were like they were 25, like big, huge, like 6'4". All of them, even the ones that didn't play sport, all of them. They were just big guys. And we were like, oh, man. So you had the squad, Monty, with Tim Wooten, George Red, and those boys.
Absolutely.
Tell us a little bit about that in terms of because
Joe
you
Lagarde
guys were no slouches either. Yeah, Joe Lagarde was on that squad. You guys weren't slouches either because I recall, I know the football team won the state title in '92. You guys got far in the state playoffs yourself during those years also, correct?
Absolutely. I was going to say, Rod was on that team with the state championship back in '92, and I'm telling you, that was a magical time back then, man. I can remember us traveling after to games, different cities. We were right there with them the whole time. So shout out to Rod in the class of '92. Rod was just that great guy. Everybody loved Rod. He was like the mayor of East Forsyth. So back then, things were simple. Things were great. I was a youngin. Definitely had a little more hair than I have now. I'm just surprised I can actually get back in this thing a little bit, but we're making it work. We're making it work.
Man, that's great. That's fantastic. So tell us, breaking news here. Monty Gray, the new, just announced, brand new men's basketball coach for East Forsyth. We do have the athletic director, Mr. Alan Plaster, on the line with us, joining us for this breaking news here. And Plaster, how did this start? How did you guys get together? What made Monty the ideal candidate for East Forsyth?
Well, when our job opened way back probably 2 months ago, Monty reached out, didn't apply right away, but reached out and asked some questions. And nearing the end of our process, he called me back and said, man, he said, I think I'm going to put my name in the hat. And I said, come on, put it in. We did have a great pool of applicants. We probably had upwards of 40 applicants for the job.
Wow.
And went through the interview process with our little committee of myself and Mr. Bass, our assistant principal, Carmen Lemons, and Coach Willard. And we narrowed it down to a couple guys. And at the end, Monty comes shining the guy we need to hire. I think him being a community person, he lives in our community. He went to school at East Forsyth. He understands our demographics. He understands the way our community works.
And I said this to you guys before, and you guys have been here. Kernersville's a little different place than most places. And I think Monty being a grad and living in our community, and on top of his basketball knowledge and experience, just won out for me and for everybody on our committee. And he and I have talked probably 3-4 times a week over the last 2 months, and we want to get this thing out. But with everything that's going on and the human resource department working at maybe 20%, things have just kind of dragged. And, I continue to tell him that he's the guy we wanted to hire. Just hang in there, and it'll happen sooner than later. And I'm just glad that we're able to put this out there. I'm sure some people have heard who applied and whatnot, but to make this official today so that we can get him talking with our returning kids some and kind of get a rapport going. And obviously we don't know what's going to happen, but it's time for East Forsyth to have a quote unquote name beside that men's basketball job. And I am so glad to have a former Eagle back on campus.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, Alan Plaster, I think you guys made the correct decision in going with Monty. I don't think, of course, I was not a part of the interview at all, but I know the character that Monty has. I know the family that he comes from. I know the way he's grown up. You couldn't have picked a better candidate at all. I don't even care who else applied. As long as I saw that name in there, I was voting for him. But of course, I did not have that option because I was not part of the selection committee. But, Monty has come from a rich tradition of basketball from East Forsyth. He was under head coach Donnie Holt when he played over at East Forsyth, and it was a rich tradition of basketball. And I'd just like to ask Monty, how are you going to, what are your plans in order to continue that rich tradition that you so much a part of back in the 90s? How are you going to bring that forth and continue to keep that going with the Eagles you take over in this year, 2020, as the men's head basketball coach?
Well, that's a great question. But first and foremost, let me go ahead and thank our principal, Rodney Bass. Let me thank Ms. Lehman's assistant principal. Let me thank the county AD, Mr. Sullivan, of course, Alan Plaster, who was there every step of the way, and also Coach Willard. Thank you so much. I'm very happy and excited to be the next men's basketball coach. So, Rod, getting back to your question, the one thing that you're going to have to do to really try to build a program is you have to have good relationships, and you have to build relationships. And so, everywhere I've gone, I've done that. And so, I'm not going to try to reinvent the wheel. The biggest thing right now is just, of course, I got to reach out to the families, reach out to the players, and kind of get an idea of, they have to get an idea of who I am first and foremost, but then I have to kind of sit back and kind of listen. I need to be able to listen to their individual goals. I got to at least tell them about my expectations. And so I think you start there. They've got to be able to trust me. And, as always, whenever you're doing something new, you got to have people that want to work with you, and they got to have excellent buy-in. And so I think over the course of us, once we get kind of through this little adversity that we're dealing with right now, it's going to be a process. And so I'm looking forward to the challenge. And so I'm going to take it one step at a time. I am going to try to surround myself with some more Eagles as well. I've talked to George Redd, so he is willing to come back. I'm also talked to Rodney White, who graduated from East as well. So again, all these Eagles, we're going to stick together and we're going to try to build this program and give, the people, the community something to be proud of and look forward to.
Me and Plaster were talking earlier today, and he was so proud of the fact that it felt like almost all of the major sports at East Forsyth right now are being head coached by a former player or alumni, a student, other than Coach Willard. But we'll let that slide. He's doing okay. He's doing all right. So we'll let him stick around a little bit.
Adopted Coach Willard after that season, the hard time I gave him. I think we could say he's adopted on in now.
Yeah, he's adopted. He's earned it. So we'll let him stick around a little bit. So on the line with us, the brand new head coach at East Forsyth High School for men's basketball, Monty Gray, along with the athletic director, Alan Plaster. And I would be remiss. I got to take this opportunity while we've got you guys on the line just to pick your brain a little bit about fall sports. With everything going on right now across the country with coronavirus, and the South is on fire right now. What are your general thoughts, gentlemen, about what's going on right now, and not just high school, but college and pro sports too? Really, everything going forward over the next 3 to 4 months. What are you seeing right now? Like, what are you thinking is going on?
Well, I think the optimism, obviously, if you're reading Twitter and everything out this afternoon, the CIAA has canceled fall sports. The Big Ten has gone to conference games only. Optimism is not looking good right now. I mean, I think for the sake of our student athletes, mentally, they need to be playing. That's a big part of their social growth and things like that. But the numbers right now in our area are not good, and some other parts of the country. So I don't know. It's obviously whatever Governor Cooper puts out there. Hopefully next week, High School Athletic Association and then Forsyth County can make some type of decision on what we need to do. I think we need some direction right now because it's so up in the air. Whether sometimes regardless of what decision they make, there's going to be people who don't like it. So at the end of the day, we just need to come with some kind of direction or some kind of decision, I think, and move forward to that.
I asked that because Coach Gray, it's going to, in the end, it may affect you too, because although basketball is considered a winter, going spring semester type sport, it's primarily in the spring. It starts, before Christmas. So you would be affected by whatever ends up happening for fall semester as well. What are your plans in terms of getting in contact with players and trying to build a rapport with them when you're in a period right now where contact is somewhat still limited?
Well, I tell you, the one thing is, everybody has to kind of wait and see how things work out. What I would like to do is, of course, set up some Zoom meetings so I can have some face-to-face time with, all the families and the players. And hopefully I'll be able to kind of sit down and, again, meet with each player and talk to them a little bit. But, the summertime, and what the one thing I know is between March and November, that's when you get better. So now we won't have that opportunity. So we're going to have to come up with some type of innovative ways to try to build, a little bit of, team camaraderie. We got to build ways how we can get prepared for the upcoming season. And so, right now it's just, I think it's about me just contacting these players, kind of letting them know what we like to do, sit down and find out what type of goals that they have and what we have. Again, we're on foreign land right now. It's foreign territory. We don't know exactly how this thing is going to turn out. And, I just feel for the people that have to make those decisions, because this is kind of unprecedented right now. And so, I'm just going to follow the lead of our AD, and I'm sure he's going to guide us the right way. And,
Did we lose?
I'm still here.
Ron, you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay, there you are. Okay.
Okay, sorry.
No, you were.
Would you repeat that sentence? Yeah, would you repeat that sentence about Allen, the AD leading you on to repeat that last part? We missed that last part.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I have 5 people in my house on this Wi-Fi, so sorry
brother,
about that.
Trust me, I understand.
We understand.
Totally,
we understand.
Well, I know, the athletic directors and the administrators have a task in front of them, and so as coaches, we just have to sit back and relax and just let them take role and let them do their jobs. And so, Alan's going to definitely keep everybody abreast on decisions that are made. And again, we got to be hopeful. We got to be patient. It's going to cut in again to our planning. We get that and preparing for the year, but we just have to be patient right now. Do I expect us to be back at school? I hope so. I really do. I've got 2 high school kids that will be starting up this year, and so I'm ready to get them out my house and stop keeping me out of my house.
Yes.
But again, we have to be careful. We have to be safe. We got to make sure that we're doing everything, follow the guidelines and whatnot. And so we just have to kind of wait and see how this thing turns out. But again, I'm extremely excited about the opportunity to be at East. I mean, I can't say it enough.
Well, I'm
Now,
speaking for. Go ahead,
I do
Rod.
have a question on the plan. I do have a question on the plan. As you guys have been watching, I'm sure ESPN and all the sports media outlets, it seems that every single college ball team, as well as people have been coming down with the coronavirus, and they have players who have contracted it. And you can only assume the worst, which is possibly that some players that you will be coaching will possibly have that virus. A plan in place that will allow you guys to move forward if some of your players contract the virus, your plan where other players can possibly come in and take their place, or is there a plan where you might be short-staffed? Clemson had 23 players contract the virus, but if you have 8 or 9 players contract the virus, you don't have enough guys to actually play the game. Is there a plan in place that could possibly take care of a situation like that could possibly come up?
Well, I'm not sure that plan is readily out there right now. I think that's something they're still working on. As Q Tucker said in a press conference yesterday, of the schools that have gone back to the conditioning phase this summer, that she knows of 4 kids across the state who have tested positive for COVID-19. Obviously, they've been quarantined. There's a lot of what ifs out there too. If and I'll just use Glenn for an example, just because they're in our city, town here in Kernersville. What if 4 or 5 of our kids or their kids test positive and we play them the next week? Do you think we or they will have kids who don't want to play, or parents don't want them to play against us? I mean,
that's the thing.
There's a lot of unknowns with this right now. As Monty said, and everybody said, this is completely unprecedented times, and there was no plan for this. A lot of people are just we're flying by the seat of our pants right now, trying to figure out how we can do these things. But at the end of the day, the safety of the student athletes and the coaches and the teachers needs to be at the forefront of what we decide.
Absolutely.
On the line with us, athletic director at East Forsyth, Alan Plaster, and the new men's basketball head coach, Monty Gray. I had one final question for you, Monty. Getting away from COVID-19 and everything and back to the actual court. Over the past decade or so, East Forsyth has become kind of known as a football school in terms of the success they've had on the gridiron. But for those looking from the outside in, that didn't happen overnight. That was a brick by brick kind of foundation building type of thing where, the team kind of broke through on the state level 2 years ago, and now they're kind of riding at the top of the mountaintop. Do you think that there's enough talent in this area for East Forsyth to do the same thing in basketball and actually kind of reclaim some previous glory that they had, like early 90s when you and George Redd and those boys were running around getting to the state semifinals, or even further back? My father, Sherman Johnson, was an all-state center for East Forsyth in the early 70s when they were tearing up doing it then. Yeah. So that there's a history of East Forsyth basketball that's kind of come and gone through the decades. What do you think it's going to take to start building that sustained excellence on the basketball side that the football program has built over the past decade as we've watched them grow?
Well, I'll tell you, hats goes off to Coach Willard. I mean, what he has done, he has changed the culture over at East. And I tell you, I would love to sit down with him and just pick his brain about how he kind of made things the way they are. I mean, he's changed the culture. And I think the one thing you could say about Coach Willard and most good coaches is consistency. You can't have a coach there for a year or two, and all of a sudden you have to start over that whole building process. To answer your question, absolutely. There are so many kids over at East Forsyth, good athletes, good academic athletes. And, again, it's just going to take consistency. It's got to take a vision, and you got to have somebody in there that is ready to, promote and just try to, get these kids where they want to go as far as if they want to go and play on the next level. Those are the things I think it's going to take to build a program. And so to answer your question again, yes, we have about 1,800 kids at that school. And so, I mean, I'm looking forward to that opportunity. I mean, it's absolutely going to be awesome for me to go back home.
Well, I know I like hearing that because I've been looking for a reason to come back to Plaster to be like, hey, I want to do some basketball games. We want to call some basketball games. I need a reason. So you giving me that reason, that's I'm feeling that.
That's right.
Hit him up, Rod. You got one more question?
Coach Gray, I've got one last question for you, Coach Gray.
Yes, sir.
So this is the beginning of a new season, a new time in your life where you're going to become the East Forsyth men's head basketball coach. And of course, things don't last forever, although we love them to. I wanted to say 21 forever, but of course that could not happen. I'm only 25. It's okay.
Right.
So my question is, when everything is all said and done at East Forsyth, when you get to the end, what is that you would like for your legacy to be when it's time for you to leave Forsyth?
I don't want any of my players to ever think about what Coach Gray didn't do for me. I don't want any of my players to feel like Coach Gray didn't push me hard enough. Coach Gray did not motivate me or get me where I wanted to go. I want all my kids to know that Coach Gray is hard, but he's fair and he loved me, And so, I mean, that's what it's going to take. I mean, I'm a yeller, I think they said, you have to yell, you can yell, but you also have to love as well. And so that's kind of who I am. I mean, I'm a player's coach. And so, like I said, I grew up at that school. I became a young man and left and went on and played ball at Winston State. But when I started thinking back to Donnie Holtz in his days, Coach Holt was hard. He was hard on us, but I knew Coach cared. And so that's the thing. They got to know that Monty Gray cared about them. And I think that's one of the most important things.
Well, I think I can speak for Eagle Nation. Congratulations on the new position. Congratulations to Coach Plaster for the hire. I think knocked it out of the park with this one, bringing an alumni home, someone that understands the program, and more importantly, somebody that understands the history of not just East Forsyth, but Kernersville itself. Alan hit it earlier in the interview that there's something about Kernersville is just a little different. Like, we're just wired differently over here in terms of the way we root for our high school teams, East Forsyth in particular, and the community coming together. I'm positive they will welcome you in with open arms and support the East Forsyth basketball program. And like I said, you might see me and Rod calling a basketball game here and there now because you gave us a reason. You gave us a reason to come and actually do it. So yeah, we'll talk. We'll talk.
Okay.
my brain's squirreling with ideas and stuff. So we'll talk. But I'm gonna let you guys go. Thank you so much for doing this with us. This exclusive, the new men's basketball coach at East Forsyth High School in Kernersville, Mr. Monty Gray, for the athletic director Alan Plaster, from a main man.
That was great. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Oh, and I'd be remiss to say, go check out the Sports Connor Monthly YouTube channel and subscribe to it. These kind of bits and things are on there. The greatest NFL team ever tournaments on there. We've been trying to keep content out while people are sitting around their couches. So if you're looking for sports content, you can go and check that out there. Fellas,
one more thing.
Oh, go ahead.
One more thing. Thank you for doing what you do for athletic sports and for our community.
100%. You two guys have changed the face of East Forsyth in less than a year on what you've done with us, and we want to continue this partnership as long as we possibly can. Thank you.
Yes,
I think me and Rod are. We
love East Forsyth.
Yeah. We're blessed coming back home and be able to do some of this stuff and do some of the stuff we've been wanting to do. What better place to do it than back home? So let's just take something that's turned big and make it even bigger, fellas. Let's do it.
Thank you, guys.
That's it.
Thank you very much.
If there's anything that we can do, guys, that help you out, please let us know. We'll be more than happy to do it.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
All right. So this has been exclusive from the Rundown. We'll check you next time. Peace.
Hey there, this is Rod Funderburk, and you've been watching an episode of The Rundown with Desmond Johnson. In order to watch more episodes of The Rundown with Desmond Johnson, please subscribe to Sports Carolina Monthly's YouTube channel.